Hi, I'm Scott Wells from Scott Wells Construction Company. Today I'm installing a new window on this remodel project, and here in Oregon where I live, the building code requires a 75% drainage rate. That's why I'm using Benjamin Obdike's HydroGap system. Look, this is a drain wrap, not an ordinary house wrap. Benjamin Obdike's put these little blue spacers, they're 1 millimeter tall, on top of this wrap. That way water has a clear path of travel all the way down to the bottom of the wall if it ever gets behind your siding. This may be a new kind of house wrap, but I still have to install my windows and prep my openings the exact same way, or else I'm going to have a leak and a big problem on my hands. I've already installed the HydroGap over my rough opening. Now it's time to cut it open. Now I hear about all kinds of different methods and ways to cut the house wrap around your opening. It doesn't really matter how I cut my house wrap, whether it's an I or a Y. Watch, you'll see what I mean. See, it doesn't matter which way I cut it, as long as I always cut it flush to the bottom of the header. That's the most important thing. Next, I'm going to make these two angled cuts at the head. Now that I've got the head tacked up out of my way, I can work on the sides and the bottom. I cut the sill flush too. This is a lot easier than you think. I like to cut these side flaps off now so they're out of my way. I like to cut the house wrap off just shy of the inside of the wall. So after I'm done installing the window and I seal the perimeter with expansive foam, I seal the edge of the house wrap too. This cant strip is part of the drainage system. Any miscellaneous water that gets inside this opening is going to be redirected outside. I'm using these hydro corners from Benjamin Obdike, and if I didn't have these, I'd just take the flashing and make some bow ties. They'd work just as well. I'm using Hydro Flash to waterproof this sill. Remember, this is pressure sensitive material. Because this is pressure sensitive material, Benjamin Obdike's provided me with this plastic hand applicator. If you had a J-roller, that'd work great too. Whatever you do, don't just use your hand. This is pressure-sensitive material. Make sure you use this hand applicator. That way you get equal pressure throughout the whole surface of the tape. Now I'm going to be using some window and door sealant to install this window. I can lay a bead across this drain pan, and if I do, I better leave some voids so any water that gets inside this opening can drain out. Now I've got the window installed. I've checked it for plumb and straight. I centered it in the opening and shimmed it from the inside too. I also applied a bead of sealant to the back of the nailing fin before I installed the window. Now it's time to finish the flashing. First I apply the legs. If you notice, this hydro flashing comes with 2 pieces of release paper. That makes it a lot easier to install this flashing. Now it's time to install the head flashing of this window. This is the most important and critical part of waterproofing this opening. This detail is also important. The house wrap always goes on top of the head flashing. I always install flashing on the angled cuts of my house wrap. This is the same thing I always do whenever I have a puncture or a tear or a hole in any part of this drain wrap. I'm skip taping with seam tape. That way any moisture that gets behind the house wrap can drain out. Waterproofing a window is pretty simple. Just start at the bottom and work your way up, the same way you shingle a roof. Another thing I like about this HydroGap is I can run it any direction I want. These spacers are non-directional. I can run this HydroGap right up this gable end.